One of the most common mistakes that I see people making is not learning your stock plugin. NANI? And it can cost you so much time and money. There's so many amazing free plugins, and people just ignore them because the entire internet is trying to sell you something that's shiny, that's new, like, oh my god, I need this thing, when in reality, you already have something that does the exact same thing. Everyone is just trying to sell you something. So let's cut through the crap and show you some examples of how your stock plugins can do amazing things for you. Wait a second, aren't you trying to sell them something? No, I'm actually trying to grow my channel by providing awesome content that people can learn from on their musical journey, and that's hopefully funny and entertaining. Uh-huh. So then you can try and sell them something later. Shh. But if I do, it'll be value driven. And for now, you get all the benefit with none of the drawbacks of sponsored videos. So let's get to it. Every DAW is going to have your basic EQ. These are great for fixing problems in your song, especially when you compare what you're doing to something that someone else has done and try to like create a bass line that has that same punch or the same effects around maybe this lower frequency, or you cut out some of the higher sounds and you can maybe even like dip out the nasally stuff from your vocal, or maybe you want to add more of that and you can get some really tinny, airy stuff. You can also entirely cut out the low frequency spectrum and then see how that changes things up. Or you can cut out the high frequency spectrum. It's great for shaping your sounds. And this is really powerful with reverb as well, and so many of the other things we're about to talk about. You also have so much control over how you shape that sound. You can add in new points anywhere along the frequency spectrum here. You can control what that looks like. If it's a low pass, high pass filter, often bands are great, and you can change how the band affects that specific range. You can make it affect less frequencies and be more of a notch, or you can make it affect so much more and then reduce crazy amounts of gain or increase. It's so powerful and easy to use and learn. You forgot to mention this was being done in Reaper and it's all actually free. That's a good point. But all this stuff is available in every DAW you could use. You also have Reverb. This is an incredible tool for adding space to make it sound like you're in a bigger room and things are larger than life. Great for vocals, great for adding a specific sound on tons of your different tracks to make it all sound like it melds together in the right room. And there's a ton of awesome presets that you can use. And this is just an example. You can change the start positions of it. You can change how long the tail lasts. Make it sound like it's in a much larger room. Dampen things. Increase the stereo width. And then you can also control how much of your wet and dry signal there is, which means the wet is the affected reverb sound and the dry is your basic sound. So if you bring this down, it's like you're not doing anything. And if you put it all the way up, it's crazy. Next, you have delay, which is so good at adding depth and dimensions, giving you extra rhythm, and creating atmospheric effects. Not to be confused with reverb, instead, this is more like your echoes, and you can control when and how it echoes. So started off, I had the wet signal down, but now you can see it's starting to echo back, and you can change the feedback over there to see how much it's going to echo back, because each time it's creating something that loops back in on itself. So if we have the feedback pretty high, and you don't want to make this positive unless you want a feedback loop. So you're getting much more instances of that echo lasting for longer. It's also got high pass, low pass filters built into this one. You can make it in time with whatever music you're making, so it actually looks at the time signature and creates it based on that. So you can make it a lot longer or a lot quicker. Super cool. There's so many awesome things you can do with just this. Now it's time to hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. You're getting access to a bunch of free information, and it's the least you can do to support this bozo. Next, we have compression, and this one is really cool because it's actually a multi-band compressor, which means it looks at the individual frequency ranges for bass, mids, treble, and then high ends, and can compress each of them individually. Each one of them will have a threshold, and if your volume goes above that threshold, instead of raising by whatever normal amount it would be, it gets truncated and squished down. So if you would go up 6 dB and your ratio is 3:1, instead you go up 2 dB. Super cool and really powerful to have it available at different frequency spectrums too. You also have your attack and release, which characterizes how quickly it affects and clamps down on stuff before it lets it back up. Don't forget to talk about makeup gain. The whole point of compression is that you're squishing the dynamic range, so the louder parts don't have as much of a difference from the quieter parts. So you need to raise the quieter parts up and then squish the quieter parts down. So like it's very easy to miss. And then you can actually see in each band how much it's pushing down right there. Next, we have limiters, and these are like compressors, but way pickier. If you try to go above their threshold range, in this case, negative 20 dB, it'll just say hard no and brick wall you and stop you. And you can go way lower. It raises the perceived loudness of whatever you're doing. It's quite powerful. And you can have the release time faster or slower. So it actually lets your volume come back up after something goes above its threshold. And that can be a slow release or a quick release where it tries to like surgically go down and remove anything from being higher than it should. I want to take chorus because it's basically exactly what it sounds like. You take whatever you're putting into it and you make it sound like there's a choir doing it. You can increase the number of voices that are going on here. Once again, you've got your wet and dry mix that you can change. They also tend to change the frequencies a little bit and like fudge the pitch. So if you have different numbers of singers, not everyone's going to sing it the exact same way. So the chorus kind of just like creates a bunch of copies, changes the pitches of them, changes like a bunch of other things, and then gives you this larger sound that's more smeared as if tons of people are singing it. And pretty similarly, but not quite. And then adding all these things together is where you create your mixing and mastering chain, where you take whatever you had before, you add in some new things, reverbs, delays, you add some compression into there, add some chorus as well, limiters finally, and you have all of them working together to shape your sound into something entirely new, something that you like more, or maybe something you like less. And it might be better without chorus. It might be better with just delay. And now we've got only reverb. So yeah, mastering's pretty sweet and entirely available with stock plugins. I hope you learned things, and there's still so much more to cover. So if you have any questions, just leave some comments down below. Let me know what you liked or what you were confused about.